876 stream. Bless up.
Today's a day where CONCACAF and CONMEBOL holds its breath. A day where a team could book their place to the last 16. More tricks, more spoils ahead, the spills, the thrills, and so much more. 50 goals at the greatest show on earth after just 21 games. This is Now Streaming Qatar. So Mitchell Duke of the Socceroos of Australia getting the 50th goal of this tournament. Australia's first win of a World Cup since 2010 back in South Africa when they defeated Serbia on that occasion. And of course, Australia's first clean sheet at a World Cup going back to 1974 where they kept a 0-0 draw against Chile in that occasion. One match down, 3 more to go. A couple past winners involved as well. Let's see how things unfold today. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone tuning in on 876 Stream JA. This is Now Streaming Qatar. I'm Simon Preston. If you haven't already, hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel 876 Stream JA. And also we're on Instagram as well, 876 Stream, and also on Twitter, Stream 876. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have 3 matches to discuss for later today. There's a match coming up at 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 2 o'clock. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the matter, let me introduce you to our esteemed panel that we have for this morning. To my far right, we have the CEO of the Jamaica Premier League, Owen Hill. And to my immediate right, it's Kadish Fishley, football coach and analyst right here in the aisle. Lady and gentlemen, how are you both doing?
Good. Thank you again for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you both. Owen, this is your first time. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much for the time. Really, really appreciate it. What we ask all our panelists this morning and for the first time is your first World Cup in memory. You know, want to jog back the brain a little bit, you know, to your first ever World Cup in memory. Could be Jamaica, could be another team, just that first memory you had.
I remember Roberto Baggio skyrocketing a penalty. That's etched in my mind. And I think, you know, that was a pivotal moment in my footballing career. Mm-hmm. I think in that period, football was really on the up. I mean, Jamaica has always been a footballing nation. Brazil specifically, I think a lot of Jamaicans tend to support. But that World Cup really showed me personally that there are other nations that you can actually look at and they will challenge, and it was an interesting encounter thereafter.
Yes, indeed. And in terms of this tournament as a whole, you're enjoying the surprises, the upsets, the lots of goals that we've seen so far?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, coming into the tournament, I think there were a lot of, you know, questions around race. There are a lot of questions around, you know, who would have gotten the World Cup, why they got the World Cup, that kind of thing. And then human rights issues, you know, a lot of off-the-field issues. And just the time in which the game was being played. I mean, the tournament rather. It's weird in the footballing landscape. But so far so good. I think we're treated to exciting games, good encounters, and we're building. I think what I've seen is a nice build-up of play, and it's getting to that exciting moment where, you know, you start see teams going out and teams progressing.
Yes, indeed. And you know, the fans want to know in the comments the international team that you support as well.
Jamaica. I support Jamaica. I mean, I like France, to be honest. Zidane is my player, the player that I like most. But I'm a Jamaican at heart.
Yeah, very, very nice. Well said, well said. And of course, he's a Liverpool fan as well, so that's the team he supports. Kadish, how are you? How has the tournament been so far for you in terms of everything we've seen?
It's been good. I think this tournament has made me question exactly how much football I know, because almost all of my predictions have gone sideways. Because even yesterday with Wales losing to Iran. I wasn't expecting that. So, but it's been an exciting World Cup so far. The build up I wasn't really looking forward to it, but then once it starts, football is football.
Yeah.
We have to get into it. So it's been a good tournament.
Who has impressed you the most so far? You've had a chance to see at least one team, every team play one game so far in the competition.
It's been Ecuador since day one when Stefan was here and we spoke about them and what we should expect, and I've been liking how they're playing, so I'm definitely looking forward to the Senegal Ecuador game because it's all on the line for both of them, so that should be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Owen, for you, I mean, you've had a chance to see the French, the Spanish, the English as well. Your thoughts about some of the big heavyweights in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean the general names are coming to the fore, I think. We've seen a couple of upsets, interestingly, but I still think that the big names are gonna prevail. The game so far, again, that's why we love the sport.
Right.
It really gives us an opportunity. Everybody gets a chance once you step on the park. Once you play, and you play to some kind of instructions, as we just see with Australia, coming off a very, very tough loss to France, they bounce back. So the games have been really good in my eyes. There's really no upset outside of Saudi Arabia, and then Japan, if you want to call it that. But I think so far the quality of plays is interesting, and we're looking for that shining star to come from the World Cup. Generally, you find a real starlet coming out. I'm looking at a couple of teams, but so far I can't really pick that one person that I'm saying, yes, they're the standout player so far.
Okay, yep, still early days, certainly right there. And just a reminder in terms of the matches that we have today, at 8 o'clock it's going to be that Saudi Arabia clash. They will be hunting their second victory at the tournament, and of course, they haven't been to the last 16 since 1994, which was back in the United States. There we go, the fixtures on your screen at this moment in time. It's Poland against Saudi Arabia, of course, Poland picking up a point in their opening game. At 11 a.m., it is France against Denmark, and of course, at 2 o'clock, the big game, Argentina against Mexico. Argentina missing out on their opener. Mexico, a point to their credit in that first game. And of course, we will return for our post-game show at 4 o'clock. So Tunisia against Australia, in case you just joined in, Australia, they've picked up their first win at a World Cup in 12 years, defeating Tunisia by a 1-0. Poland against Saudi Arabia, that's coming your way at 8 o'clock. France against Denmark again at a World Cup, that's at 11, and Argentina against Mexico at 2 o'clock. So we're going to digest over the next half an hour or so in terms of the three matches that are to come, and also get the feedback from our panelists as well as it relates to groups C and D. We've had a chance to look at group A and B yesterday, in particular the second games for both teams, and of course as well by the end of Monday we'll at least have all the teams playing 2 games so far in the competition. So as you quint, the group stages will be done, and then the teams start to drop like flies within the competition. Owen, let me start with you on this one. Before we look ahead to that Saudi Arabia clash, who did so brilliantly, the host nation, coming into this tournament, there was so much expectation, praise for what they have done, the infrastructure and everything, but and also the Gold Cup performances going to the semi-finals, but quite underwhelming in your eyes in terms of their performances so far?
It's hard to say underwhelming. I mean, if your markers are high, which I think we do, we have really high markers. Yeah, you want to think that yes, it's a disappointing result or disappointing set of results. But I think they've played decent enough. They've played good enough football. They just managed to play against better teams that are more organized. I think in their opening game they showed that they have decent enough quality, especially in the second half. They came out. I think the early jitters came out of them, and Ecuador is a very, very good team. So it showed. Valencia, he's a top quality player, and as you can see, he always seems to make the difference. There are always players, marquee players on different teams that will be standout players. So for Qatar, I think, it's a good experience for them. I'm sure similar to what we would have experienced with Japan, where, you had your first World Cup and then you keep building from that a momentum. They've now tasted what it is to play at the highest level. They have the infrastructure now, considering that they've hosted the World Cup. So I expect going forward, they'll be a rising nation.
Yeah. Kadish, we heard so much Owen mentioned earlier about the off-the-field issues, human rights, and preparation and treatment of workers, etc. Do you think that could have had any impact on the pitch, with the press and the public image of the country in terms of their performances?
I don't think that would have had an impact. I think what probably had an impact was the weight of the nation being on their shoulders, basically, in my opinion, and that pressure of being a host country and winning a game or at least getting to the second round, because very few host countries don't progress to the second round. So I think it was that pressure that really got to them. They've been a second half team for me in this tournament. We saw that versus Ecuador. They attacked more in the second half of that game, and then in this game versus Senegal, I saw the same thing. They even got a goal, so that was impressive. But it was the quality of the Senegalese that came to the forefront, and they put the match to bed with that third goal. So, but I think it was just the pressure of being the host country that got to them, in my opinion.
All right, let's now look ahead to the first fixture that we have coming up at 8 o'clock, the second fixture of the day. That's the Saudi Arabian team against Poland. Kadish, let me start with you on this one. The Poland side of things, a 0-0 draw against Mexico. Your thoughts of what you've seen so far and some expectations that you would have of this unit?
Well, I mean, in the Mexico game, they had very little of the ball, and they had 4 shots. And while Mexico went on to have, I think, about 10 shots or so. So I think Poland needs to get out of that shell and attack more. But when you think about Saudi Arabia as well, they had 2 shots on goal, 2 goals. So are we going to get a more expansive Saudi Arabia who will go out and attack more? And is that going to change the concept of the game? Are we going to have a very competitive game with both teams attacking, or are we going to have Poland or Saudi Arabia sitting back and attacking on the counter? So I would love to see them get out of their shell. Well, not Saudi Arabia. They pulled out the upset of the tournament. I'm still saying that. And so I would like to see Poland getting out of their shell. I mean, they got an opportunity to win the game versus Mexico.
Yeah, the penalty.
And you would bet your house Lewandowski scoring, and that did not happen. So I think, we're going to get a different sort of game than we got in both of their first matches. It's there to play for, so I'm expecting to see a good game.
I mean, Owen, a lot of people look at this man, Lewandowski, 76 goals, the all-time leading goal scorer for his countryman. Many might say, well, 46 of those came against teams ranked in the hundreds, but you can't discredit what he has done, not only for club-wise, but also dragging his team forward towards back-to-back World Cup appearances.
Top quality player, no doubt. I mean, he's definitely one of the most lethal, clinical number 9 player that you'd ever have. Arguably, if he was playing for a different country, then you could have more accolades to his name. But he has done everything pretty much that an individual player can do, and I think he has the weight of a whole lot on his shoulders as a player. I think he's just growing old. Obviously, the game is modern. It's quick. You'll have younger defenders, but he still has the guile, and I think just an unfortunate incident in the missed penalty, which happens all the time. Clearly, they did their homework because he went his normal spot and it was saved. But I still think that takes nothing away from him as a player. He's an excellent number 9. He's a striker's dream. Everybody would want to play like him, and I hope that he steps up and do what he does, which is score goals. It's probably going to be difficult today against a more spirited Saudi Arabia team. I think these guys are just playing with nothing to lose. So it may be difficult. And I mean, you've heard the stories coming out. After that Argentina victory, all the things that they've gotten, I think all these guys are heroes now back in Saudi Arabia. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Owen, I'm not sure if you saw, Kadish was showing a video earlier about the dressing room at halftime in that Saudi game with Coach Hervé Bernard. The motivation that he has to take his team forward to winning 2 African Cup of Nations titles, certainly an inspirational factor for this Saudi unit. Yeah,
definitely. And I think they're now buoyed by the fact that they beat Argentina. you know, what else can you not tell me right now? You know, I can probably walk on water. But I think the Saudi Arabians, they're playing exciting. They're obviously fearless. And how they play, clearly it shows that they're well coached. I mean, when you watch back the game against Argentina, they're squeezed very, very tight. And they're well drilled. It doesn't seem like any player is out of position. It seems like they all know what to do, when to do it. They're in sync, and I think that works for them. And in this game, I would imagine they're not taking it lightly, but obviously they probably go in as the favorites. They feel good. They're riding high. And normally you would look at a Poland versus Saudi game and say, well, all right, you know, Poland is probably tipped to be winner. But in this game, I think it's the reverse.
Kadish, as a coach, you know, how challenging is it, you know, to implement that sort of discipline on a team? You know, you saw that high line that they were consistent with, you know, how challenges and the time on the training ground to ensure that is done almost to perfection.
That's one of the hardest things to coach in terms of getting that discipline right on the field. Because if one person is out of position, it's like it's all for nothing. So that's one of the hardest things to coach. I've been implementing it at both my teams, St. Jago and Royal Lakes, and it is frustrating because you need to get it right all the time. And you know, it's still something that we learn, and it's not natural to our game as Jamaicans, and it's not natural to a lot of people. So to get that discipline right in the first place is very impressive. I'll
actually throw a spin in it. I think one of the things that work is consistent playing together. I saw a stat that said, you know, about 9 players for Saudi Arabia actually play for the same club team, which is, I think, a club team in Ryder or something like that. Good, but having all these players playing together over a period of time gives them that synchronization that you want. And as you say, as a coach, it becomes very difficult. I mean, when you play together, you understand each other. I mean, you glance over the shoulder kind of thing, and you know where the player is. I think World Cup or international tournaments is a little bit different because a lot of these players don't necessarily play together all the time. So I think for Saudi Arabia, it works for them.
Yeah, and Owen just made the point there regarding Saudi and the players that play together. Only 2 teams at this World Cup have their entire squad playing in the same league. Saudi Arabia is one, and Qatar is the other one. So, of course, they would have opportunities to have camps together. Like Owen has mentioned, the synergy, the chemistry, the cohesion. So that is something that has worked quite well in their favour. And also on the Poland side of things as well, you know, yes, it is, as Owen said, it's a blessing to have, you know, a world-class player. Is it also a limitation as well, too much reliance on him? Or it's just great to have a player of that calibre within the unit?
It's sometimes a mixture of both, because when you find yourself back against the wall, who are you going to look for to you know?
You need a hero.
You need a hero, and you're going to look for your world-class player. And then there are times when you have other players stepping up for Poland. So it's a little bit of both, and it's interesting to see. That I hope it's not an idea of over-reliance on Lewandowski, because I've seen when you're over-reliant on a player, even when they're not in a position to receive the ball,
you still want to get it.
You still want to give
Force
it. Yeah, and it changes the game. So I hope it's a thing where everybody steps up and give us the game that we deserve.
Yeah, certainly one to look forward to. Just to read a couple of the comments coming in. Andrew Johnson says, pressure is on Poland to win this game. I'm interested to see Saudi Arabia if they can give another winning performance today. Yes, certainly all of Jamaica and the rest of the world will be looking forward to that. So that game coming your way at 8 o'clock. So, you know, we look forward to that in particular. So let's look ahead to the next game of the day. You know, a lot of French fans will be out in their numbers, especially on the island. France against Denmark. Owen, as you know, Denmark has had their ticket this year. They've beaten them twice this calendar year. Are the Danish, in your eyes, an underdog for this tournament?
They are an underdog. I mean, it's one of the... pardon me if I said this wrong. They're one of the lesser fancy teams,
right? That's fine, yeah.
in the World Cup, especially coming out of Europe. I mean, when you have these other big European nations, it's hard to look at Denmark and say, yes, you know, that's my team. They're really great. But I think they have the quality. They're very, very technically sound. And they play good football. I mean, they have quality players all around the park. So springing a surprise in this game is probably not a bad thing to think about. But the defending champions are the defending champions. You know, you can't really count them out. And even though you find that there are a lot of injuries, you know, France probably is walking on pins and needles right now. I still think that France is better than Denmark. So I expect a very, very good game. I think that the quality of the play will be great. I'm not sure about the excitement that will come from it, but let's see.
Yeah, definitely. We have to wait and see. It's an interesting point about the Danish outfit that in the last World Cup, they didn't lose a single game within 90 minutes. Of course, it took penalties where they were eliminated eventually towards the Croatian. Kadish, you know, your thoughts, that Euro run that they had last year, and as well, especially everything that happened around Ericsson, the unity, the belief, are those factors some of the strengths that they have, as well as the quality on the field as well?
I mean, the quality is a big thing. I think Owen has said it best. You know, they have great technicians and they have quality players all around the pitch. I was wondering if, because I realized that Schmeichel hasn't been playing for Leicester. He hasn't made it to the World Cup, has he?
No, Kasper Schmeichel has been gone. He actually left and gone over to Nice in France. So yeah, his form dipped and then slowly but surely, went back up. I mean, Denmark in a cup competition is always a fun team to watch because they play as if they have nothing to lose,
which they don't.
They don't. You know, as he said, they're one of the lesser fancied European teams, so they have something to prove. And as you said, they had Francis ticket this year, so I think they're going into this match with a little bit of belief. I mean, we've done it twice. Of course, we can do it a third time. you know, and I think that is something that the coach probably will be saying those 2 times didn't count. This is when it actually counts, and we need to go out and do it. And I think Denmark have the quality to do it. It would be a happy upset for me if they should pull it off. If they should pull it off. It wouldn't be surprising if they do.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a Chelsea fan, you'd look forward to see the likes of Christensen on.
I mean, you know, Christensen, how he left a bad taste in my mouth. So, but he's one of our own. He was built in the academy, so there's still a little love there for him. And I would want to see him do well.
Well, we're going to talk about the French now. What about Olivier Giroud? Is there still some heart for him?
Giroud. Yeah. Giroud is one of those players I think that they get better with age, and he has done that. He has gotten us out of some spots before, and I still have love for him. He's just one of those players where he just needs half a chance, and he'll take it. And I love that about him. And you know, let's see.
Yeah. And if you were to do a survey on this player across the island or anywhere, it perhaps split down the middle as it relates to his ability, especially from his Arsenal days as well. You know, your thoughts, you know, in a French kit, you know, 1 goal away from breaking Thierry Henry's all-time record for France.
Actually, as a supporter of France, I think the injury to Benzema has worked for Giroud. Because I'm sure, you know, there would have been questions around who to start, how to play, the system, etc. Giroud is a player that relishes these moments. He's an underdog type of player. He's never loved. He's not the skillful number 9 that you're accustomed to seeing in any world-class team, but he gets the job done. He's an efficient number 9. And I think he relishes that moment. He knows that he's probably the less fancied, you know, number 9 in this team, but he now has the opportunities to step up and be the hero. Even though he may not get all the praises, I think he does the job and he works hard. How France play the counter press, having that kind of energy, he gives you that. And I think as we have seen, he's never shying away of doing work. You know, he does what it requires on the pitch, and he's scoring goals. which is important. You know, he scores. So I think he's relishing the moment now, and they look to him again. France just has a real, you know, litany of talent. So it becomes even more difficult for them to fail and questionable if they do.
Right.
I also wanted to say that I remember during his Arsenal days, he had a nickname.
Lamppost?
No, man. Sir Flicks a lot.
Oh.
Because he was also providing
assist, right.
So, you know, he's someone who, if he's in a position to provide an assist, he will. He's not that selfish number 9.
No, he isn't.
And you know, sometimes you want him to shoot, but sometimes he makes the better decision. And
most coaches will like Giroud. Most coaches.
Yes.
I think he is a team player. He does a lot of off the ball work, and I mean, obviously not the number 9 that will be in your face scoring a lot of goals, but he adds a whole lot of value to any team, especially when it's a star-studded team. You need a player like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to know because at the last World Cup, he didn't take a single shot on goal at the last World Cup. Yet if you ask Paul Pogba, who was critical to that France victory, he would say Olivier Giroud, just because of his hold-up play, his height, being able to create space. So it just shows his impact on the field. Owen, even without Benzema, you think there's still enough ammunition for a deep run for the French?
Well, I hope. I hope. But missing Karim is a big thing. I mean, that's like Argentina without Messi. That's like Brazil without Neymar. He's the player. He's the guy. He has been on form. He's their leader right now. They look to him. So not having him in the team is a little bit difficult. I'm sure he's still in Qatar. So his presence within the space is important. And he will give them that motivation that is required. But the team all around has always been, I think, built around quality over individual talent. So I think that's what they're doing. No one person is bigger than the overall system. And, you know, you have exciting players coming through. So this is now Mbappe's time to shine. This is now Griezmann's opportunity to be that leader that he showed glimpses of in the last tournament. So I think for France, it gives other players an opportunity to step up.
Yes, absolutely. And just a reminder as well that Olivier Giroud is level with Thierry Henry for most goals for France, 51 each. Giroud did it in 115 games. Henry, 123, so a few more games for him. Antoine Griezmann, 42 goals to his credit for France. Benzema, 37, and Mbappe, 29 goals in 60 games for his country. And, you know, of course, we said that the nice jersey that you have on. No Kante, no Pogba. Is that also another, you know, frailty for the French team to be concerned about?
I think it's Pogba more than Kante. I think Kante has not been at the same level he was at the 2018 World Cup, and I think the injury for him would have provided opportunities for the up-and-coming talent for French midfielders, Camavinga, to Germany, to go out there and show their worth. Pogba is a big miss. You know, I'm not really Manchester United fan, but he is usually the difference maker for them, and he's usually the difference maker for the French team as well. And so I think Pogba will be missed more than Kante. And then I think recently there was another injury concern again to Lucas Hernandez.
Right.
So, you know, there's just injuries all over the pitch. I think that injury to Lucas Hernandez might affect them more than all the others.
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries, and I think, you know, just looking at it, I've not done any real analysis or, you know, any research, but it seems to me like because of the timing of the tournament, players are more prone to injuries right now because of their preseason preparation for clubs. Right. So they would have been in motion, and now you kind of have to rejig what you do for a tournament like this. This is only 7 games at max. So you find that players are just going out a little bit harder. People want to make the actual team, so I'm sure training sessions are crunching, and you know, you will have those kinds of things. So let's see. Hopefully none of the other big stars don't go out hurt in this tournament.
Well, Neymar is out for at least.
That's what I'm saying. So hopefully we get to see the stars, because really that's what we watch, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
This is why, you know, you have these tournaments. So let's see.
Yeah, Owen, just wanted to get your thoughts as well. I asked my panel as well about it in previous days. A November World Cup, usually the June, July players after a long, hard season. November in a club season, you basically want to get into second gear. You're trying to fine-tune, get 10, 15 games. Your thoughts about the quality that we've seen thus far?
I think it's good. Based on as you mentioned, the timelines.
Yeah.
You know, it's relatively early season in club. People are still trying to find their foot, especially depending on where you're playing. If you're a regular starter, you're probably just going through the paces at your club, because you know that is the back end of the season will give you the real bang for your buck. I think the quality is there. Again, you're playing for your country, you're playing for the greatest trophy on earth. So you'll go a little harder. I think your natural adrenaline will be higher. And so far the games have proven that. You know, I've not seen any game where any team is holding back. I've not seen any game where you're saying, okay, they're in reserve right now, they're managing the game. No, it seems high tempo all the time, because you know that if you don't win or if you don't get a good result, then your opportunity of moving further in the tournament is limited to none.
Yeah. All right, well said. Well, let's move on to the last fixture we have of the day, the big one at 2 o'clock. And fans, you know, of Argentina will be holding their breath for this one. Argentina against Mexico. Of course, the Argentines losing their opener to Saudi Arabia, which, you know, the panel has been discussing. Mexico, a 0-0 draw in their opener. Owen, are you on Team CONCACAF?
I'm Team Jamaica, so I'm Team CONCACAF. I like Mexico.
Yeah.
It's, you know, they've always kind of been the flag bearers for CONCACAF, I think. Kudos to Canada and USA right now. I think they're flying our flag, CONCACAF flag high. Yeah. But I just think that Argentina is going to come out a little tougher today, you know. They know everything is to be played for. It's going to be difficult for Mexico. And Mexico is not known to play cagey football.
Exactly.
Mexico is not known how to, you know, I don't know if they have that in their locker room to sit and, you know, soak pressure. And they are going to go at you. So, as you say, Jimenez, he wants the ball at his foot. He wants to run at defenders. He wants to be menacing. So it should be an interesting game, quite open, I expect. But Argentina, for them, let's see if they bounce back, because this is what, you know, the World Cup is made of, and let's see if they have the kind of leadership, not the skill set, but the leadership to take them over the line.
Yeah. Karish, same for you?
Yeah, 45% of Jamaica is doing the game right now, because I'm hoping that Mexico can pull off. Pull it off.
Yeah.
A draw, a win, I don't care. Just get something from the game, Mexico. So I'm really, I can't wait to see that match.
Yeah.
I really can't wait.
Yeah.
And have half of the country crying.
Yeah, these 2 o'clock kickoffs at Jamaica time have been quite compelling in the tournament. We saw England yesterday, the Argentines today, and of course tomorrow Spain against Germany, which Kadish will have vested interest in as well. What we're going to do right now, we're going to play an insert for you as it relates to tactically how both teams could line up, the strengths, the weaknesses, of course the previous meetings between both teams, and some interesting tidbits on both teams heading into this encounter. So I hope you enjoy this video. And today we're going to look at the Argentina versus Mexico encounter. And wow, these teams have played each other so much times at the World Cup in recent times. We can go back to the 2006 World Cup in Germany. I remember Maxi Rodriguez, right? 2010, Carlos Tevez. So this team, Argentina, has eliminated Mexico from the World Cup. And now the opposite could happen depending on results within this competition, especially after Argentina's opening defeat to Saudi Arabia within the competition. Mexico, they drew 0-0 against Poland in their opening game. So they have 1 point. Poland have 1 point. Saudi Arabia with 3 points to their credit. And of course, Argentina with no points. Argentina's 36-game winning streak, well, that has come to an end. So let's talk a little bit about Argentina, shall we? And one thing that you have to know about this Argentina team is that they choose their moments very well. They can be fast, when they need to. They're direct when they need to, and they look to this player, Emiliano Martinez, who is quite effective when he is on the ball. What is so clever is that when he has the ball, whether he catches the ball from a corner kick or a mix-up in communication or just a recycle of possession between his players, his teammates that is, he has the ability to find players into space and make them run on. And this makes him so effective, not only between the sticks, but also a key part of the Argentine defensive aspect as well. The likes of Tagliafico and Molino, they move forward. They move very forward. But one of the most interesting things about this Argentina team is they know when to bamboozle the opposition. They might look when it's kickoff like a 4-3-3, but when the match proceeds and the teams start to take position, they look like a 4-4-2. This is how they will look. And it will look like a 4-4-2. Messi, of course, will be that instigator roaming in and around the area. Martinez will be a little bit more centrally. Di Maria has the ability to underlap, but will come in these areas as well. Messi, of course, when Di Maria comes in these pockets of space, will locate himself centrally. And that is how it will look. And again, go back to looking like a 4-3-3, which can get the Mexicans a little bit perturbed. But I tell you what, it is something that has been effective for this Argentine team. In each of their last 5 games, Argentina have scored their opening goal in the first 20 minutes of the game. In fact, in their last 6 games, their opening goal have come in the opening 28 minutes of a match. So a lot of early goals. Copa America, they scored 9 first half goals. 4 of those 9 in the first 15 minutes. And guess what? Scored an early goal as well against the Jamaicans quite recently in a friendly at the Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. So it's so critical there. We know Otamendi and Romero started the first game against Saudi Arabia, but I expect a change with Martinez, that is Lisandro, coming in for this game. The Mexicans will be coming with a lot of size and strength, especially with Jimenez, and Martinez will be given that responsibility to keep Raul Jimenez quiet. So I expect this to be a physical battle in this.
So in Argentina's last 5 games, they've scored the opening goal. But not only that, that opening goal has come in the first 20 minutes of a game. Estonia back in June, the opening goal, the 8th minute. Against Honduras back in September, 16th minute. Against Jamaica, the 13th minute. Against the UAE, the 17th minute. And of course against Saudi Arabia right here in the World Cup, Lionel Messi converted a penalty in the 10th minute. So that high press, energy, tempo has set the tone for Argentina within this tournament as a whole. Let's get some reactions from our panel before we look at the Mexico side of things. Owen, you spoke about, this being the day, this has been everything. Outside of that number 10, Messi, who would have to play, that supporting role to ensure that, they can walk away 3 points, hopefully.
Yeah, I think the other supporting cast needs to step up, So outside of Batman, everybody expects him to do what he does, which is an easy enough chance to kind of lock down. Yeah. I think, they play a lot through their channels, especially out wide. So I think Di Maria needs to step up, and DePaul also needs to step up a whole lot, because a lot of the action goes through those 2 channels. And then just getting the ball in the area. I think what they try to do, they obviously are not adept at having great number 9 players over the last couple of, I would say, years. Outside of Batistuta, I really can't recall having like a really solid number 9 player for Argentina, which I think is a problem. It's an over-reliance on a number 10 player. And I think from a coaching standpoint, it becomes easier to manage that. But it's Argentina, number 3 ranked in the world. They have players all over the park. So who knows? I mean, Otamendi may just step up and score the opening goal just because of how, critical this game is going to be. I think that's also a big risk, because they may just go out and be exposed. So if Mexico stays patient, probably they can catch them out. They're not the greatest defensively. I think they're porous, and you can find holes in their defensive setup. So it should be an interesting tactical game. It really should be.
Yeah, Kadish, your thoughts on Argentina?
You said something about Argentina not having like good number 9s, and I'm like, you don't consider Aguero a number 9?
He is, but I find that Aguero has never really been that first choice number 9 for Argentina.
Country, yeah.
He, even though he's really, really good, if you notice, he has never really been that guy that you look forward to. Aguero has always played second fiddle to Messi.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
Okay.
and I'm saying prior to now, it was the other way around, where a lot of their action was through their number 9 player.
Right.
Things have shifted, and I think
Yeah.
strategically most teams know that.
Well, in regards to the game, I disagreed with something in the package. I will switch out Otamendi for Martinez.
Interesting.
I think Otamendi has been a liability for a number of years for both club
And country.
And country. So, it was surprise. I said I was surprised when I saw him being included in the squad.
Yeah.
And I was again surprised to see him starting over Martinez, who has undoubtedly proved the doubters wrong in the English game.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah, so I would have Martinez in. And of course, as Owen said, the Di Marias and the Paredes and the Pauls, the Latour Martinez, they all need to step up. And then on the defensive side, Martinez, Ramiro, and
Otamendi.
no, not Otamendi, the goalkeeper.
Oh,
Martinez.
Martinez
Yeah,
as well.
Emiliano.
Then they need to be on top and having one of the best games of their lives for Argentina to get a point here.
All right, let's now have a short tactical preview on the Mexico side of things. And today we're going to look at the Argentina versus Mexico encounter. And wow, these teams have played each other so much times at the World Cup in recent times. We can go back to the 2006 World Cup in Germany. I remember Maxi Rodriguez, right? 2010, Carlos Tevez. So this team, Argentina, has eliminated Mexico from the World Cup. And now the opposite could happen depending on results within this competition, especially after Argentina's opening defeat to Saudi Arabia within the competition. Mexico, they drew 0-0 against Poland in their opening game. So they have 1 point. Poland have 1 point. Saudi Arabia with 3 points to their credit. And of course, Argentina with no points. Argentina's 36-game winning streak, well, that has come to an end. So let's talk a little bit about Argentina, shall we? And one thing that you have to know about this Argentina team is that they choose their moments very well. They can be fast when they need to, they're direct when they need to, and they look to this player, Emiliano Martinez, who is quite effective when he is on the ball. What is so clever is that when he has the ball, whether he catches the ball from a corner kick or a mix-up in communication or just a recycle of possession between his players, his teammates that is, he has the ability to find players into space and make them run on. And this makes him so effective, not only between the sticks, but also a key part of the Argentine defensive aspect as well. The likes of... So Mexico, the last time that they missed out on the second round of the tournament, 1978. So a good history of at least getting to the second round of the tournament. Owen, they didn't take up Javier Hernandez. They didn't take up as well Carlos Vela. So a lot of reliance on Raúl Jiménez between.
It's a centrally based footballing team. They tend to play through that central channel. And I mean, Jimenez likes the ball wherever, just put it in spaces, he will hunt it. And I think they play that kind of pace. I mean, when we watch them in CONCACAF, it shows they're possession based, but they still are very, very direct. They don't try to play tiki-taka as we would have known it. So I don't think it changes. The strategy may just change because you're playing Argentina, which I think will have most of the football in terms of possession. But their key player is Jimenez. You know, through him they will trust his goal scoring instincts. And as was mentioned just now, I think Otamendi is that weak link if he starts in defense. So I think Jimenez will be playing off Otamendi for the most part. Not the quickest right now, but I think he's skillful enough. He has the guile to get past. And when you look at Vega out left and you look at Herrera out wide, I think they have good quality players that can threaten. And if they get that first goal, I'm sure it's going to be a very, very difficult afternoon for Argentina.
All right, really, really appreciate Owen. And thank you, Kadish, for being on as well. We're out of time right now, but just before we go, thoughts for the game of Poland, Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Argentina?
Mexico.
And France, Denmark?
I'll give it to France.
And the same for Owen?
Saudi Arabia.
France, Denmark?
France.
And Argentina?
Argentina.
All right. There we go. That's the thoughts of our panel. Owen will join us back again at 4 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to 876 Stream JA. Until next time, guys, join us again at 4 o'clock for the post-game show. Take care for now.
876 Stream. Bless up.